It was an extraordinary cross-examination by Todd Blanche, and Michael Cohen's throughout the day. Michael Cohen, when he found himself in a corner, he does have a pattern of suddenly not understanding the question that's being asked, or seemingly kind of, one could say buying time to try to figure out how he wants to answer. But he definitely suddenly starts to, have Todd Blanche repeat questions and say, I don't quite understand what you mean. I'm confused by the question. But this time, Michael Cohen was cornered in what appeared to be a lie, I think, to many in the room, and had to adjust suddenly his memory that he had just testified to on Tuesday.
Having just witnessed that piece of cross-examination, do you have doubts that conversation happened the way Michael Cohen testified on his direct examination, that he called Trump into
I think it's absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's devastating. For Michael Cohen, he just didn't. It's hard to. I don't know. Yes, I think if I was a juror in this case, watching that, I would think this guy's making this up as he's going along, or he's making this particular story up. Todd Blanche was pointing out, you were testifying just on Tuesday in this court, and all morning long he's been pointing out, inconsistencies in Michael Cohen's testimony, or at least questionable aspects of Michael Cohen's testimony, but nothing that you would necessarily, as a juror, think, okay, that's clearly a lie. Maybe that's just he was misunderstanding, or he was bragging, or whatever. This one, Todd Blanche clearly saved this to right before the lunch break, I'm assuming, because it was just so well crafted, and just point by point walking through this story, which at first seemed, why this seems like a ridiculous story. Some 14-year-old is sending him, nasty text messages, and he's going to call Keith Schiller about it. And then you realize, he showed the phone logs that the prosecutor had shown, and it's the phone call that Michael Cohen had previously talked about. I think it is severely damaging to Michael Cohen's testimony.
Welcome to the party, pal. Wow. Ding, ding, ding. You get an award. You finally get it. That this guy is a 100% capital LAD, a lion-ass dog. I'm going to give you everything that happened in today's day 18, all the highlights, near completion, I should say, of Michael Cohen's cross-examination by Trump lead attorney Todd Blanche. I'm also going to tell you whether or not the former President Trump is going to testify. There was some talk about this at the end of court after it adjourned today, and I'm going to tell you what they were talking about in just a second. But let's talk about this really quickly. I'm going to take you play by play, all the highlights, and I know you guys are going to be not too shocked to hear this kind of stuff, but you're not going to get any of this in mainstream media, so check this out. So Trump's attorneys gave jurors a picture of Cohen's on-air persona playing two clips of his podcast when cross-examination began today, in which he discussed Trump and the potential charges in this case. In the recordings played in the courtroom, Cohen's voice was louder, high-pitched, and much more animated than the reserved and concise way he's been answering questions. Well, he was coached by Representative Goldman, remember? The guy who knows nothing about nothing, literally a novice representative, a novice, knows nothing about trial law at all. In one clip from an episode, Blanche said from October 2020, Cohen could be heard using an expletive and saying he truly hopes, quote, that this man ends up in prison, end quote. He also said, quote, it won't bring back the year that I lost or the damage done to my family, but revenge is a dish best served cold, end quote. He also adds, quote, you better believe that I want this man to go down, end quote. How in the world can you take this guy seriously? How in the world can the fake Don, Judge Juan Merchan, not call this a mistrial? And not just look at the prosecution like, dude, who is this guy? You've got even Anderson Cooper from CNN saying, what? Blanche then asked Cohen if he continued to call Trump various names on his podcast and when he did interviews on CNN, and Cohen said he did. Quote, and that has continued even during this trial, Blanche said. Correct, Cohen said. Then Blanche grilled him about his 2018 guilty plea to federal charges, including for lying to Congress about a Trump Tower Moscow project. As he did when pleading guilty, Cohen conceded on the witness stand that he lied to 2 congressional committees about his contacts with Russian officials and lied when he said he never agreed to travel to Russia in connection with the project and never discussed with Trump plans to travel to Moscow to support the project. Quote, just related to that issue, you lied under oath, correct? Blanche asked. Yes, sir, Cohen said. And then Blanche started digging in. Why did you, admit to lying to Congress? Cohen testifies that his statement to Congress, crafted with lawyers who were working together with Trump and his attorneys, was styled, quote, in order to stay on message, a message that we all knew Mr. Trump wanted, end quote. Cohen then went on to testify that he does accept responsibility for what he did. Good for you, big boy. You're responsible for being irresponsible and a lion-ass dog. Good for you. In a lightning round of questions and answers, Blanche pointed out that Cohen has over time blamed various other people for his problems, including his accountant, a bank, federal prosecutors, and a federal judge. And then Blanche asked, you blame President Trump? Yes, sir, Cohen replied. Then Blanche pushed Cohen and really wanted to go after him about all these lies and untruths. He repeatedly and emphatically, on his admission that he had lied when pleading guilty to some federal charges, including tax fraud, before Judge William Pauley. In one exchange, Blanche asked Cohen if he agreed that when you plead guilty to a crime and you're lying, that's not accepting responsibility for your conduct. He continued, you lied. You lied to the judge when you pled guilty, adding, do you think Judge Pauley would have liked to know that you'd lied to him? And Cohen said he wasn't sure before conceding the point. Quote, I'm certain he would have, end quote. What a lion-ass dog. Blanche then pressed him about how Cohen had White House ambitions. He says, quote, the truth is, Mr. Cohen, you really wanted to work in the White House, correct? No, sir, Cohen replied. Blanche then referred to a series of text messages first presented by prosecutors earlier in the week, showing private conversations he'd had in November 2016. In one message, this was what kind of Anderson Cooper was talking about. In one message, Cohen texted his daughter that he still had a shot of becoming the president's chief of staff. Another shows Cohen telling a friend that she could serve as his assistant once he gets the position. Reiterating his previous testimony, Cohen said that while he may have wanted to be considered as chief of staff for, quote, ego reasons, end quote, he was seeking a role as a personal attorney to the president. I don't think you're characterizing this correctly at all, Cohen said. My conversations with my daughter, I wanted a hybrid position where I would still have access to President Trump, but I would not be a White House employee. What? And then this gets really, really matrixy right here. Blanche brings up another embarrassing episode from Cohen's past when he supplied his lawyer with non-existent AI-generated legal cases to back up an application last year to end his post-prison supervision early. As he said previously, Cohen said he was doing research with an AI tool, and it served up a few cases that sounded useful, but turned out to be inventions. He said he didn't realize such tools could make things up. His attorney, that's why there's all these committees and all this legislation and all this buzz about the safety of AI and the future of AI. You had no clue, right? He's just lying through his teeth. His attorney ended up citing the bogus legal rulings in papers that went to a judge. Quote, those citations were inaccurate, not the sum and substance, but essentially the citations themselves, Cohen testified. When you say the citations were inaccurate, you mean the cases didn't exist, right? Blanche asked. Under that citation, no. The 3 cases that you gave to your attorney were not real cases, correct? That's correct, Cohen acknowledged. I mean, this guy just cannot tell the truth about anything. His whole entire existence is a lie. And then the day's most heated moment involved Stormy Daniels, a disputed phone call, and harassing messages from a supposed 14-year-old boy. This was insane. Cohen testified earlier in the week that he called Trump's bodyguard, Keith Schiller, just after 8 p.m. on October 24, 2016, as a way of getting a hold of Trump because he knew he'd be with him. But Blanche noted that at the time Cohen was dealing with a spate of harassing phone calls and had exchanged text messages with the supposed harasser just before contacting Schiller. Blanche cited text message records showing Cohen messaged Schiller at 7:48 regarding the caller who identified himself as a 14-year-old boy who'd promised not to do it again. Who can I speak to about harassing calls to my cell and office, Cohen wrote to Schiller. Blanche then cited phone records showing Schiller calling Cohen and leaving a voicemail at 8:01 p.m., followed by a text message stating, "Call me at 8:02 p.m. Cohen then called Schiller's number. The conversation lasted 1 minute and 36 seconds, phone records show. Blanche said Cohen's claim that he was talking to Trump about the Daniels deal was a lie because you were actually talking to Mr. Schiller about getting harassing phone calls from a 14-year-old. I mean, he cornered him. He got this guy. Again, that's why CNN just can't, even CNN has to go, I'm sorry, this is all BS. Quote, part of it was about the phone calls, but I knew that Keith was with Mr. Trump at the time, and it was more than potentially just this, Cohen responded. Blanche was completely incredulous. After hours of slow, halting questions, his voice rose to an octave, a note of disbelief. Quote, you had enough time in that 1 minute and 36 seconds to update Mr. Schiller about all the problems you were having with this harassing phone call and also update President Trump on the status of the Stormy Daniels situation in 1 minute and 36 seconds? And then listen to this response by Cohen. Yes, I believe I was telling the truth. I mean, you can't make this up. You can't make this up. I mean, this guy would lie to his own shadow. This guy would lie. I mean, he doesn't understand what the truth means. He doesn't even know how to tell the truth. He's lied so much. This guy is so stuffed with BS that he literally doesn't know the difference between BS and truth anymore. He can't. He has no idea. And said, we're not asking for your belief. This jury does not want to hear what you think happened. And then the prosecution objected. Then next, Blanche went on to Cohen's secret recordings. Blanche asked Cohen, who was Trump's personal attorney at the time, you understand it's not ethical for a lawyer to record a conversation with their client. And Cohen conceded it wasn't ethical. Just so I understand, Blanche said, you surreptitiously recorded your client so that you could play a privileged communication for a third party? And Cohen agreed. Blanche said many of Cohen's recordings, about 40, involved conversations he had with news reporters. Sometimes the people Cohen was talking to asked him if he was recording them, and he denied it, Blanche said. Asked if he recalled that, Cohen said, it's not illegal in New York for one party. And then Blanche responded, Mr. Cohen, I did not ask you if you were breaking a law. I just asked you if you were surreptitiously recording people. I mean, he nailed this guy. Blanche then asked Cohen about the use of non-disclosure agreements and the one struck with Daniel specifically. Blanche asked if the agreement with the porn star was a, quote, completely legally binding contract. In your mind then and now, this is perfectly legal contract, correct? Blanche asked. Yes, sir, Cohen said. He also asked Cohen if non-disclosure agreements are a routine practice in law, and Cohen affirmed that they are. End of story. End of case. No crime. No victim. Nothing illegal took place. Even lion-ass dog Cohen admits it. Then Cohen previously characterized Stormy Daniels' payment as extortion. So he was caught in another lie. Yes, I recall making a statement like that. They were extorting Mr. Trump, Cohen testified. In your mind, there were two choices, pay or don't pay, and the story comes out, Blanche said. Yes, sir, Cohen replied. In 2018, Trump decried Daniels' claims as false and extortionist accusations. In her testimony last week, Daniels denied trying to extort Trump, calling the allegation false. And then court adjourned for that day. Now, there's a couple of days off. There's going to be no court tomorrow, Friday. Trump is going to be attending Barron's graduation. Blanche is expected to finish Cohen's cross-examination on Monday morning, and that's when Judge Don Juan Merchan asked, will your client, former President Mr. Trump, be testifying? And Blanche said this, quote, that's another decision that we need to think through. So still no decision on whether Trump will testify or not, but it keeps getting brought up. Here's something that's really interesting. Before adjourning, Judge Merchan wanted to understand the kind of, he was trying to sort through the schedule of the final days. He wants both sides to give their summations on the same day. He then goes on to say, quote, "It's not ideal for there to be a big lapse in time between summation and a jury charge. So depending on how long the defense case goes, it's possible the trial could shift to closing arguments as early as Tuesday." So this thing could wrap up really, really quick. Again, I want to hear what you guys think, Nez Nation. I'm still shocked that this entire case hasn't been thrown out, that this entire case hasn't been dismissed, that anybody with any sensible legal knowledge involved in this case hasn't been like, you know what, enough is enough. We have to stop this. This is an absolute charade. I want to hear what you guys think. What do you guys think in the comments down below? What do you think of Blanche's performance? What do you think of CNN? Anderson Cooper actually like seemingly stunned that, like, my goodness, I mean, Blanche destroyed Michael Cohen. And that's, again, supposed to be Bragg's star witness. I want to hear from you. Let me know in the comments down below. As always, I try really, really hard to respond to all the comments, but it's literally physically impossible. So consider becoming a member. You get top priority, badges next to your name, a bunch of amenities and perks. Subscribe to our free newsletter. Everything is going to be in the pinned comments, show notes, and description. So please go down there and check all of that out. Check out these videos coming up on the screen right now. Follow, subscribe, and as always, I got you covered. God bless you, and may God bless America. I'll see you soon.